So the program to run the CNC lathe is Techno. And you can hear it click, and it's basically a similar interface as the last time. So now we only have X and Z. X is into the part, Z is along the part. We have cut speed, plunge speed, spindle RPM is basically what we have. X and Y of 0 is your position. So whatever you turned it on, wherever the tool is, becomes 0, 0. So we want to start off by importing a file. And the file it is a C: mastercam X lathe and C. So here's what I created in mastercam, and we want to save it in the same file. So C: mastercam, what was it? Lathe, and C, and these are the parts that I've done before. This is Rook Video. And so now go back in, there's Rook Video. And then we basically need to set it up. We can preview. This is what it thinks it's going to look at. This is with a sharp pointed tool. Is basically what we end up with. So we have the right part. Now we need to set up the machine, and so we basically need to set the origin. So in terms of setup, these are different parameters: jog speed, home and offset. X offset is the radius of the part. And so basically this is a 3/4 inch dowel, and so it's back 0.375, and then don't home before or after that will speed up time. Then the tools, these are your tool length offsets, and that's what we need to basically learn how to do that. The primary tool is tool 1, so we're going to set 0, 0 for tool 1, which is cutting on the left, and then these are the different offsets for tool 2, 3, and 4. And you can save these as a file once you get it configured, so every time you don't have to go through this procedure. So basically what we need to do is set up our tool length offset. So here we are with the lathe. This is a chuck on the lathe, and it basically, these are the 3 teeth, and as you turn this, I'll bring these together. So if we, emergency stop is right here. Twist it so that it works, and then over here it said controller is not enabled. Enable controller now. Basically canceled the controller when we're doing that. Now we can jog and back away. So what we have here is one tool. It's a quick change tool, and so we basically, as we pull it this way, now the tool is fixed. As we move it back this way, now the tool can come off. It's a quick change. So basically as you pull this out, it forces this into the tool. So we can put the other tool in, clamp it down. The height of the tool is set here, and so basically you can adjust it in and out. And these are different screws that you can tighten down and replace your inserts. So we basically have the insert on the right, the insert on the left, and then lastly we have the cutoff tool. So the first thing you do when you're dealing with tools is you need to basically tell the CNC machine where the end of the tool is. So that is your tool length offset, and so we'll go from there. Our numbers look about right. And so then we can go to 0, 0. And if everything is working right, as we can see right here, we are now at the left edge of our workpiece. So this is 0, 0, and this is in our program tool 0. And so we want our tool, this is the offset for tool 0, sorry. Tool, this is the offset for tool 0. So that's tool 0, and now we need to figure out the offset for tool 1 and tool 2. So how do we figure out tool 2? So tool 1, this edge here, this corner here is 0, 0. But for the next tool, it's on the right side. And so now it's this corner that's actually 0, 0, not the other corner. And so we need to basically line this corner up with the edge here, which is a little hard, again. So what we can do is actually plunge in over here and then just measure the distance here and use a little bit of math to figure out what's going on. So, going over, don't want to take off too much material, but so basically we can now plunge in there and then figure out how much material is left, and that will give us our offset using a caliper. So, like before, you can't run the machine without it starting. So we want to make our jog speed pretty low. Start our spindle. And if we come over here, we're just going to feed it in. We need a big enough patch that we can measure it with our calipers. And then turn off our spindle. Now we can open this up and come in and measure with our calipers. Size of that. And so now looking at our caliper, we have, it's about 1/4, and then the line that lines up the most is, sorry, the one that lines up the most is actually 1/4. So we're not 1/4, that's a 1/2, 1/4, 1/8. So what we had, our tool length offset. I basically did a little spreadsheet program. And so the distance we had, that was from a previous time, is 1/8. And then the Z, as we can see up here, our Z is minus 0.8454. And so minus 8.54 is actually minus 125. And so, because this is negative, because this was to the left, and so basically what we need is 0, the end of the tool should be at minus 0.7204. So that's the Z offset. So if we move the tool to Z of minus 0.7204, minus 0.7204, and then looking over here to make sure we have clearance. We do. And if we hit go, if everything worked out right in our calculations, the edge of the tool and the edge of this, the edge of the tool and the edge of this are lined up perfectly. So that is going to be the offset in the Z direction, and like before, we go down to the edge of the part, speeding up our jog. So we're moving down towards the beginning, and that's as far as we can go. And now if we come over here, we can play with the paper again. So again, pretty tight fit as it is. Starting with a job step size of 1/100th of an inch. And then changing it to 1/1000th of an inch, and then 1, 2, 3 more thousandths. And that should be where x is equal to 0. And so in this case, our x offset is 0.0106. And so into the Excel, just so we remember it, 0.0160 is the x when x is equal to 0. So now we need to move our tool to 0.016 and then minus 0.720. And I'm a little, so basically the first thing we want to do is back it out, and then right now we are basically moving towards the end of the part. We're about where we want to be right now, and then if everything works well, we want to go to x of 0.016, 0.016, and the z is minus 0.7204. Minus 0.7204. So, I don't know the best place to put it. So x of 0.016 and z of minus 0.7204. And hit go. And if everything should work right, the edge of the tool, where is the tool? The edge of the tool should be aligned with this and at the edge of the tool. So that looks right. So now we have the tool at the edge. Now we come over here, and in this tool, this is tool 2, and we want to save tool offset. So now in our setup, these tool offsets are saving. And we have that tool offset, and now we can do the same thing with the cutoff tool. So the cutoff tool is this one right here, and the cutoff tool is defined by this edge right here. So we can basically line this edge up with this and figure out its 0 position. So back it up, back it over. Probably should tighten it down, otherwise all bets are off. And then basically we can come over here and then use the paper this way, which I don't know how I can film, so just trust me. So what we've done is we've moved the edge of the tool, such as just touching this face. Paper can't move. And then I moved it over 3/1000ths the thickness of the paper. So that motion is in the Z direction, and so the Z offset in this case is minus 0.3931, and if you notice, it was quite close to what we had last time. Similarly, we can find the X offset. So again, we want to first move in the Z direction. We can continuous and move in the Z direction, and then move back in the X direction. So now we are clear of the part, and then we basically move over like we did before. So we're basically as close as we can get. And then with the magic piece of paper, we can get pretty close. Step jogging, size 0.01. Can't move, back off. And then make your step size 0.01, 0.001, 1/1000th. That's touching. 1, 2, 3 more, and that should be our Z offset. So looking at our thing, so basically now, sorry, that was our X offset. So X offset is 0.0058, and in this case, 0.0058 is the X offset for our tool. So now we've established where our tool is, and some of the differences we're getting is just because of the run out of the tool and where we're actually measuring 0. So it's probably a good idea to mark on the tool and always measure to the same spot on your tool. You're also denting your tool as well. Denting the wood when you're plunging it into that. So those are offsets, and so theoretically we should be able to move our tool back to the end. So move it back, moving our tool close to the end. So now we are about at close to 0, 0, and now we should be able to use our go-to. And then we want to go to, looking at Excel, 0.0058, 0.0058, and Z is minus 0.3931, minus 0.3931. So that's our Z and our X, which we found by touching off. And then if we hit go, we're now where we are based on the controller. And then if everything goes right, we should be right here. We're right at the edge of the face. And so this left corner is right where we want to be. So now we've set the tool length offsets, except we need to come over here and tool, this was tool 3, save tool length offsets. So under setup, basically home and offsets, X offset is the diameter of the shaft, have extra radius, and then spindles, we've now set these 3 different offsets. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 haven't been changed, and we want to save these changes. So now in the future we can just load these offsets and we should be good to go. So that's our setup. Looking at our tool. So it's basically Rook Video. Tool 1, offset 1, spindle, and then feed of 2, and then, yes, feed of 0.2. 0.2 seems a little, 0.02, those seem to be a little slow. As again, it thinks we're cutting steel, not wood. So feed 2 is your rapid, and then yeah, so here's your cutoff, and cutoff is at feed 1. And these feed rates are specified in your file. So we like it now. And then we can save Rook Video, save our part, and then preview it. This is what we should look like. So we're now should look what we want it to do. And so then we can go over here. Now we don't want this on part. We can now put our tool 1 back in. No, we can't because it overlaps. And now tool 1 is back in. And so it's to the left about 1/8 of an inch either way. This is locked down. And basically we want to let's move Z. So we come over here and we basically want to set Z is equal to 0. So we want to go to Z is equal to 0, and that indicates where the end of the part should be. So now we can come over here and basically scoot this out . So now basically this is going to be our Z is equal to 0. Our first operation is going to be facing, and that's how we get a nice flat surface. So now we're basically ready to go. We have tool 1 in, and we're going to go down here. There's a latch with a switch in it, so you can only run the spindle when we're basically have the machine closed. So we're basically over here. Now we should be able to hit start. And it says change to tool. It's up here. It says change to tool 1. We did that already. It's tool 1. Now we should be able to go here. First operation was plunging. Next operation was what was the next operation? I don't know, but we chose a really slow feed rate. So now we're doing the profile, pocket, this line. couple leads of faster feeder. Backing up. We got this outer profile. Respect, we should have had it a little bit smaller than our outer stop. We can make this a smooth cut because of the simplicity. And around the corner. So if we look over here, okay, so basically this is where we're paused. M01 is the start of tool change. It takes to process. This is what we have. Again, it's just showing a very sharp tool, so it doesn't have a flat top here, and that's basically the shape of the rook. It gives you an idea what it should look like. We know the next step is a tool change. I've already opened the lid, so we basically flip off. We have all of our tool length offsets set up. Bring the new tool, clamp it down. Coming back in here. Now we can hit resume. It'll get up to speed and then realize, oh, it needs to do a tool change. Now it says to change to tool number 2. We already did that. So we can hit zoom. And now, if you remember correctly, it's going to do that little round corner of the rook. So it looks like the tool length offset for this is a little bit up because of the 2 diameters right there. Move that around there, and now we can go ahead 3, which is our cutoff tool. So tool 3 is mounted in. Again, when you hit resume, it starts and realize, oh, we needed a tool change. And we should hit resume, and if everything works out right, we should cut it off at the right place. At some point, the stress is going to be too much, and there it goes. So here we are, it's saying it's cut off, it's going to back up. And it's done. So here we have our finished strip. The top side is nice and flat. Bottom side has this little nub where the stress is too much, but that can be easily sanded off. Whenever you're done with the machine, at the end of the day, hit the emergency stop and power it down.